Anyway, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. That same thing happened to me yesterday. I go ready to go live. I'm going to do a tribute to a neighbor of mine in DC who passed away the week before Christmas,
I saw that. Yeah.
and I can't get anything out over the radio live at all. And so, beyond
Wow.
being pissed off about it, I'm not going to, try to do something that I can't do. So,
Hmm.
canceled the show. Uh, put it out on social media that we're having technical issues, canceled it, and uh, tried it. Just took my soundboard here and closed it down and rebooted it. 5 minutes later, I'm back on the air. So,
Wow. So that
yeah,
was technology's Happy New Year. Just to let
yeah,
you know who's in charge.
yeah, really, yep,
So anyway, oh yeah. So I've been reading bunches of things in my daily newspaper, and some things make me laugh, and some things make me think. And then people
yeah.
have sent me, like yourself, have sent me ideas to talk about. So there's lots of things, lots of fun things to talk about. So I don't know where you want to start, but I've got a bunch. Let me just give you a short outline, and then we can decide maybe what we want to talk about. But I think the one that made me laugh the most was an article in our local paper that said there's $5 million sought in a suit that some woman is has initiated, and she's suing the Hershey Company because the Reese's Pumpkins, that candy that came out at Halloween time in the shape
Okay,
of pumpkins, the wrapper on that Reese's candy package showed eyes and a nose of the pumpkin. But when she opened the package, those pumpkins didn't have any faces on them. It was just a plain chocolate treat with peanut butter stuff inside, but it didn't show the faces. And she said she would not have bought them had she realized that they did not have faces carved into the chocolate, the mouth and eyes. And she just feels that it's deceptive advertising and is suing Hershey Company for $5 million. What do you think?
that's like that bitch from probably about 20 years ago. I know you're going to remember this one.
Okay.
She is the reason why McDonald's and other
Oh,
fast
yes, yes,
food.
yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I didn't
The
even
coffee
say it.
was
You know what I'm
too
talking.
hot. Yes.
Yes.
The coffee was too hot. Yes. Yes. Did she ever do we ever know what happened with that lawsuit? Did she get
Well,
money from that?
that case, whatever we want to say it, is the reason why you now get your coffee with that warning on it. Warning: contents of this beverage are hot or whatever.
Mm-mm.
And I think some of the places, I don't know if it was Dunkin' or Starbucks or somebody, actually, took the initiative to word it in a sarcastic manner.
I kind of remember that, but I don't remember specifically what the
Like,
sarcasm was
the
about.
beverage you're about to enjoy is hot. Say, like, in case you didn't know.
In case you weren't aware. But I just love this one. She's quoted saying Hershey's labels are materially misleading, and numerous consumers have been tricked and misled by the pictures on the product's packaging. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And then she has apparently several photos comparing products' packaging to their actual shapes were featured in the document, including a football shape that Kelly said resembles an egg rather than a football. And the lawsuit suggests Hershey correct the packaging to reflect the actual contents.
If I
Document.
was their attorney, I would say no. No, it's because we have to do stupid shit like this that we can't afford to do it the way she wants.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
because
we've
some
got,
psycho is gonna.
so she included some videos, some YouTube videos of people reviewing the products and complaining about a lack of details on the candies. And one of the videos is titled Reese's Halloween Candy Lied to Me in capital letters. And another states Reese's drops first 2023 Halloween candy, but fails. So, anyway, that caught my attention this time. I'm now going to put the article in the trash. And it will be interesting to see in future articles what happens with that lawsuit. Okay.
I think you just gave me an idea for the next up the middle episode
Which
where
is,
I'm going to. I won't be able to find any of the relevant candy at this point, because the Christmas candy is even down by now. In
yes,
fact,
yes, yes.
there's probably I would venture a guess that there is probably, if I were to go to Walmart after our recording today, I'm guessing I will probably see St. Valentine's Day candy in the
Absolutely.
aisles by
Oh, yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the pink and red hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
The marketing for a couple of months at a shot.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now that I'm spending money on advertising to bring people to Yergz Radio
Mm-hmm.
and to Up the Middle, I
Uh-huh.
get it,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes these people for fucking ever to respond to anything.
And that it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And Lewis Black said that years ago.
Oh, I love Lewis Black. He is
Oh,
the
as
best.
you know, he's Jewish, and
Yes.
he's not shy about making his comedy about some of the Jewish stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
And when he talks about what he calls Christmas halftime, uh, he says, "When do you start seeing Christmas decorations in the department stores?"
Mm-hmm.
July 7th. How long does it take you people to shop?
When many people shop Christmas Eve. I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
says, if you can't manage your holiday, lend
Mm-hmm.
it to us Jews and we will manage it for you.
Oh my
Back
God.
in my day, now
Yes.
get this, kids. Back in my day,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving was its own holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we call it what it is, Christmas halftime.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, it's been interesting to me, and I didn't pay attention so much this year, but it was like anathema to have stores open on Thanksgiving for the early Christmas shoppers. I thought that was just awful.
Yeah,
And I think some stores backed away from that, you know, and said, "No, we're giving our employees off on Thanksgiving. Stay home and enjoy your family." I don't know
right.
how that went over, and I don't know how this year went because, like I said, I wasn't really paying attention. But I'm old enough to remember the blue laws, where
What's that one?
no retail was open on Sundays. Period.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
I don't know when that changed,
I
but during my lifetime, for sure.
probably right around the same time Mac machines came out. Do you remember what a
Okay,
Mac machine was?
sort of.
It's the ATM.
Yes. Hmm.
Mac stood for Money Access Center,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that was actually the brand
Yep.
of it, like Visa and whatever
Yep.
else,
Yep.
that
Mastercard.
you had to
Yep.
have a Mac card to
Yep.
use that ATM.
Well, it took me decades to get friendly, and I rarely, 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 rarely use. I can count. mm, I rarely use Mac machines or
Yeah,
ATMs or whatever you want to call
same
them. I
here.
just don't. So anyway,
I
use my
don't
my
need
credit
to.
card. My credit card you know, is gets hot, gets fiery. But anyway,
Yeah.
cash is on its way out, I guess. So
Well, the
anyway,
government is trying to do that,
yeah,
um, and
yeah.
that they're not embracing Bitcoin. And I'm like, you don't have a choice.
Mm,
Third world countries are smart enough to embrace Bitcoin.
no kidding.
El Salvador's done it, and I don't know that it's fully blessed yet. I think there might have been some hiccups,
Hmm.
but if you think about it, that was actually a pretty ingenious move by the El Salvadorian government.
Aha.
They're a third world country.
Yeah.
Not all of their citizens are registered to vote because they don't have the technology or the wherewithal to do that. And as such, not all of them are registered to pay taxes.
Ooh.
You switch your official currency to one that doesn't exist physically.
Hmm.
You just forced those people to learn how to use a mobile phone,
Hmm.
and your tax revenue just skyrocketed. On top of that, your national currency now kicks the US dollar's ass.
Holy wow.
And that's why people like Steven Mnuchin, Trump's former Treasury Secretary,
Hmm.
said, I will be the death of Bitcoin because they're trying to save the dollar
Yep.
while giving their buddies trillions of dollars of tax benefits.
Well, he's another character, and I don't see his name anywhere these days. Is he in
Yeah,
trouble?
he's quiet. I'm I'm trying to figure that out because he was the only member of Trump's cabinet to last all 4 years,
Hmm.
or at least of any, value. Maybe some of the lower secretaries made it, but DHS, Attorney General, state, none of them lasted all 4 years.
You know who I've been thinking of lately is the post office guy. Lemoy, LaJoy, the whatever. He's still there, right?
The guy that tried to remove all
Mhm.
the, yeah, yeah, that's a good question. That is a great question.
Yeah, and
The
you know,
Postmaster General.
yeah, Postmaster General. And it made me think about him because I went to the UPS store, not store, the UPS place to return something the other day. And wow, is that convenient? I really kind of like
Okay.
that. So I don't know if he was responsible for that or if, because I think it's a post office thing. It's not, yeah, not a private venue. Anyway, so the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup I thought was a fun way to start our episode today. And then I have another article that was not quite as amusing to me, but certainly interesting. And its headline, Sorry, but no one in the US apologizes like Pennsylvanians. What do you think?
Okay.
Earnest
Um,
apologies, apparently, are Pennsylvania's thing. The state ranks number one for articulating the most sincere apologies in the United States, according to a national poll, which I thought was kind of interesting. Examples of some of the best apologies include I take full responsibility for my mistake and I'm truly sorry. That's one.
what
Another,
politician said that?
I'm sorry for what I did to you and I want to fix it. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. It was inexcusable. Those are some examples of really good apologies. The absolute worst one is I'm sorry you're mad at me. That takes no responsibility for whatever was done and blames as victim blaming one.
Yeah, clearly none of the guys I dated were from Pennsylvania.
None of them.
No.
My apology story, I like it. I'll share it with you because I thought it was amusing at the time. Amusing and touching, and it worked, I thought, or I felt good about it. How's that? Back in the day when I was teaching, there was they some other teachers would sometimes use the classroom that I called home for study halls and so forth, while I maybe had a free period or lunchtime or
Yeah.
something like that. And this one semester, every time I came back into my room, there was garbage all over the floor, wrappers of some kinds or paper or whatever. And the desks were all verhuddled and messed up and whatnot. And so, I thought, okay. And I wasn't annoyed by it. I just wanted to send a message. I mean, I was annoyed at the students, but I wanted to send a message to to the teacher in charge. And so I grabbed a plastic bag one day and picked up all the garbage that was on my floor. And, I can't remember if I put it in her mailbox at the time, but I put this bag of stuff with a note just to say, could you please have the kids pick up, before before they leave the classroom, because this is what I found today, and it's a regular occurrence. Well, the teacher totally understandably took real offense to my message and my delivery system, and let me know. I can't remember. Maybe she sent me a note back. I don't know, but I could tell. Oh shit! I really stepped in it this time. And so I took another bag and found candy, and I think I had fake flowers and something else, and wrapped that up and took it to her door and said, I am so sorry. I really screwed up that communication. Please forgive me. I don't know if she ever did, but I felt okay about it because I felt, okay, I've acknowledged the fact that I really screwed up. So that's one of my favorite apology stories that I
Is
have
this at
told
is this
students
at
from time
West
to
or when you
time. Pardon
is
me?
this at West or when you transferred to the senior high?
I was at the senior high by that time. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep. 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 So anyway,
uh,
I
yeah. Then
just
then I don't know. I have some suspects in mind for if it were to have happened at junior high West.
Oh, you may not want to
Um,
share those, but I welcome you to do so if you're comfortable doing so.
I would say
Mm.
one of them might have been Ellie Fetterman.
Oh, yeah, she was a sensitive, lovely woman. Yeah, or she
Um,
is a sensitive, lovely woman.
but I just never saw her as having paid attention to things like
Oh, well, there you go. That's
because I
possible.
think I think there are so many of what I'll call any of the specialty teachers, like somebody who teaches English, somebody who teaches math, somebody
Yeah, yeah.
like as opposed to some of the other people like Barb Stauffer, whose
Mhm.
job it was to run a study hall. Um, they just I don't want to say that it's not that they're better than running a study hall, but that it's a pain in the ass
Mhm.
because like us students, it's kind of a free period.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But because of us students, you guys get screwed out of it. And so I just don't see
There
her.
you
I
go.
just see for
Yeah,
her because,
yeah.
and I loved Mrs. Fetterman because I sucked at math.
Mhm.
And we would sometimes meet during both of our mutual lunch periods for her to try to rescue my algebra abilities that were not salvageable.
Mhm.
But I just also see her. Diane Wiswesser would have made everybody pick up.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
just see Ellie just wanting to get out of there so bad that she's so glad the study hall's over.
Yeah, let's just go. And she's
Yeah,
busy. I mean, she's busy during study hall doing, doing things, correcting
yeah,
papers or planning
right.
lessons or tutoring kids or whatever, and not paying attention maybe to what's happening to the floor. So, anyway,
Um,
but you also may want to know, even though Pennsylvanians know how to do it, know how to apologize. Apparently, Pennsylvania came in at they're not so good at the number of apologies, apologies that they deliver. The Keystone State apologizes And I love that there are statistics like this. Apologizes just 2.7 times a day. California clocks in at 2.1 apologies a day. And I
That's
just thought,
L.A.
but yeah,
Yeah, L.A.'s too
or
important to apologize to somebody.
absolutely, absolutely. So I just thought that was just kind of interesting, and I'm trying to skim over this article to see which state has the best average, and I'm not seeing it. Maybe they just wanted to report on the negative side of things, but the end of the article I thought was kind of interesting too. It quotes Marlo Zoda del Sordo, a community relations manager from Glenside, PA. Pennsylvania's ranking may be based on the state's Quaker roots of tolerance.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. The poll's creators said that each state holds unique cultures, traditions, and linguistic nuances, which is why the art of apologizing varies from place to place. And that's certainly true, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say the reason why Pennsylvanians apologize less,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said Quaker so much as I would have said Pennsylvania Dutch,
Pennsylvania Dutch. Yep.
who, as
Pennsylvania
you and I
German.
both
Yep.
know, do no
Yeah.
wrong in the first place.
Right. Right.
And so it's not until we're totally busted that
Yes.
they get the
Yes.
sincere
Yes.
apology.
Yeah. 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 Now they know how that Pennsylvania Germans, they know how to do stuff. Okay. In fact,
Yeah.
my
And they know
daughter
better than you do. We'll
brought,
be happy to tell you.
oh, absolutely. In fact, that's so funny. My daughter bought her dad a button and recorded what she figures is one of his favorite phrases that if he doesn't actually say out loud, he thinks. And the button, when you push it, says, I wouldn't have done it that way. And then, and I wouldn't have done it that way. As you said, he would be happy for you to say, well, how would you have done it instead? And then he gets to explain, you know, how things should be done or
Yep.
the most efficient and the smartest way to do things. I tell you what, one of the things in our relationship over these many decades is there's something he refuses to forget. Okay, that drives me crazy, and it's part of the challenge I have of just accepting things as they are, that he doesn't forget it. Once upon a time, decades ago, I spent an entire weekend, an entire from dawn till dusk, doing yard work, you know, that I was really quite proud of. And I knew the things that I did were appreciated, right? But the single only
Right.
thing at the end of the night when I was all finished and it was dark and I was exhausted and tired and dirty, the only single thing he remembers is that when I wound up the hose ended up going through the yard, which was not totally clean, and there was mud on the hose when it was finally reeled up. That's the single only comment my husband made at the end of that weekend. Yep, you reeled in the hose over the mud. So there you go. He wouldn't
Yeah,
have
see
done it that way.
that sounds
Does
like
that sound familiar
the
to you?
Secret Service Academy. Yeah, that sounds like the Secret Service Academy. They are
Hmm. Anal?
so hell bent on making us perfect that
Hmm.
they forget to tell us what's already perfect.
Yeah.
And
Well,
by the
Paul,
end
now
of,
I think,
the
mm, sorry.
go ahead.
No, no, by the end of the,
Sorry, go ahead.
by the end of the, were you going to finish that? By the end of your
Oh, well,
training?
yeah. Yeah, we're just so beat down that we go to other training like computer science examination, you're in there for like a
Hmm.
month, and then you graduate from it, and they say, okay, you're the best in the world at doing this. And we just look at each other
And
and
you don't
go,
believe it?
I wonder what the kids at MIT think about that statement,
Hmm.
or anybody in Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
And then we get guys going in, having the best lesson that I learned came from umpire school, and it wasn't about balls and strikes or fair foul, safe out, or the rules of baseball. The
Hmm.
lesson that owner of the school taught us was that a little learning is a dangerous thing.
Oh.
You learn a little bit and you think you know a lot.
And then you think you know it all. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
what I was going to say, what I was going to share was that Paul has now admitted that he needs to be very careful about the suggestions he makes to me about what to do and how to do it better or how to do it his way. Because what I have learned over decades is that when he says that, I give the job to him. And so he's doing more things these days because he does it better. Why should I do
Yeah.
it when he can
Yeah.
do it better? And so he has admitted to his friends he is very careful now about offering suggestions to me because I will give him the job and he feels he has enough jobs. What do you
But
think?
what did you notice about his verbiage to his friends and what we talked about not 5 minutes ago?
Oh, yes. Oh, true. Yes, there's no apology there. No. None
With that, but
whatsoever.
also he's not admitting he's saying that he's going to do it differently,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
not that what he did in the first place was wrong.
Correct. Well, he didn't do it in the first place. I did it in the first place, but I did it
No, no,
wrong.
but I mean
So
when he commented about the mud
oh,
and
yes, yes,
didn't
yes.
comment about the rest of the final product.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It goes back to the
Yes.
Pennsylvania Dutchman not being able to admit that they screwed up in the first
Yeah,
place.
no. Yeah. Oh, God, no. Oh, no. 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 In fact, when decades ago, again, I quit this decades ago, but when I would say to him, I've done a lot of work and you haven't noticed any of that. How come you don't ever talk about the good stuff I did? And he will say, well, you're just too sensitive. People who need validation like that are addicted to praise. So it was a fault of mine because I was looking for validation and affirmation for what I had done. It became a fault. So because it always got turned back on me as a criticism of my character, I quit looking for it, quit asking for it, and now I give him the job. The other
That
thing
kind
my
of
daughter gave
reminds
for
me
go ahead. Mhm.
that kind of reminds me of yours and Paul's version of Debbie Idol's magic wand story.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. The magic wand theory. Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
magic wand theory that goes on around here. Yes. Yes. Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to mention that my daughter gave for Christmas was she gave me a packet of magnetic words that you can, on any metal surface, you can make up your own sentences. You probably have seen those. You
Yeah.
just take a bunch of words and you can create whatever messages you want with it. Well, hers that she gave me was about mansplaining. That was the theme of those particular words. Ah,
Yep.
yes. Anyway, it's fun. Now, we have talked for 30 minutes today for
We
this
have.
particular episode. Do
Yep.
we want to? I mean, I've got more to talk about here, but I just wanted to mention that we've been talking for 30 minutes, I
Yeah,
think.
so what can we add to this one, or is this a totally separate additional episode coming up?
That's totally up to you. Let me tell you what I have the kinds of things I want to talk about today. I've been intrigued by some of the articles I've read about predictions coming up for 2024, which are kind of interesting. And let's see, yeah, predictions. And also some of the things that have happened like 100 years ago. That might be fun to add to this particular episode if you'd like.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Like, on it in 2024, in 2024, um, uh, J. Edgar Hoover was born. Also, George H.W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, Marlon Brando, James Baldwin, Truman Capote, and the comic strip Little Orphan Annie began. The Macy's
Wow.
Thanksgiving Parade began in 1924. Tom Landry, the Dallas Cowboy coach, I think, was born. And the Washington
Wow.
Senators, the football team won, baseball team, excuse me, baseball team won the World Series. And it wasn't till a whole lot later that they did that again, but I didn't take that note. Johnny Weissmuller, the swimmer, set the
Tarzan.
freestyle record. Some woman named Carol Taylor, whom I've never heard of, invented the ice cream cone rolling machine. And
Okay.
the first crossword puzzle appeared in 1924. And Judy Garland, at 2.5, began her acting debut. So I thought
Wow.
some of those were really interesting, and particularly the one about Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, because my mother always loved that parade, and she it was a new thing, kind of a new thing when she was born in 1921. So anyway, I just thought that was really kind of
I
interesting.
have I have a DC friend who had been at like CNN and a bunch of other network type
Hmm.
stuff who is in Orlando now, and I think he's actually going to be one of the producers of the Macy's parade this coming year.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's got to be a big
I
deal.
saw
I
the
mean, I
post. Yeah, I saw the post that he made when he made the announcement. Basically, how he received the offer and stuttered through trying to say yes and so on. Um, but yeah, I have to check. It might have been. I think it was Macy's, but something that he's doing right now with Disney and is partnered with Macy's or something like that. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was a big deal. Yeah,
Well, I'm just so impressed with people who put together events like that because I've done a couple of mini things myself, and the stress level is
yeah,
just out of sight. And I just am amazed and so grateful that there are people who have a stronger, what do you say, stronger character or something than I do, who are willing to do
yeah.
those kinds of things. So, that Cal Thomas wrote the column from which I found these particular details, and he also in that same column talks about predictions about what will happen in government. Apparently, in the 1920s, Coolidge was making changes in limiting governments and so forth. And isn't that the president whom, um, just, what's his name? Um, your
Calvin
governor.
Coolidge is
It was his hero, was his
oh, Ron
favorite president.
DeSantis.
Yes, there you go.
Yes, yes, that's
I
right.
wanted to
Yep,
say
yep,
George. Yeah.
yeah,
So I thought that was kind of
yeah.
interesting. And fussing around with immigration was a big deal at the begin at during the 20s, 1920s, 24, that kind of thing. There were changes in leaders. What kinds of predictions can we look at? That's certainly something we're involved in. Um, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf in 1924, and we've already talked about inventions coming up as predictions, and the AI taking over everything, and the chat thing.
Right. Right.
In fact, I had an invitation at one point this week that the chat program, AI program, said, "Hey, how would you like me to write an article about this kind of thing? And see if you like it. Do you agree, or will you allow?" And I got stubborn and said, "Nah, thanks. I'll do it myself."
Yeah.
So,
See, I
anyway,
always, if I use, I use Google Bard. It's another, it's Google's brand of artificial intelligence. And I'll
okay,
use that to do like the base of a script for an episode.
okay,
Like I did
yeah.
it. I've got two scripts waiting for two episodes I
Oh,
need to do.
talk to
One,
me.
basically, it's well, see, it did the basics of podcasting, like how podcasting came
Okay,
about and so on. And then
okay,
also how internet radio came about. And I want to do an episode on
okay.
each.
How cool.
But
Now,
what
does
I
it give
did,
you
I think I used
footnotes
it. All,
and things?
yes, now it does. Now it does.
Wow.
Some of my first episodes, I don't think it did, or I missed them. But I did stuff for
Hmm.
like comparing, basically because I know that they're especially Google is preventing it from getting political. But I was able to find the history of Jared Kushner's career in the
Gotcha.
White House.
No
And
wonder you know
and
so
so I was
much.
able to get some of the basics. Well,
Hmm.
yeah. Good historians know where to
I
find
am
info. They don't know the info.
exactly, and I just say this once. I mean, I am so impressed with all the things that that all the details, all the facts, all the research that you do. It's really pretty impressive. It's not pretty impressive.
Well,
It's
and that's kind of
impressive.
the basis of the middle is that
Hmm.
not just do I present listeners with the information, but I present the citations. And that was the big deal for
I
me
love
was
that.
to say this was initiated by Google Bard. And
Yep.
I will tell you where I edited and changed the
Yep.
information and why and where that info came from.
That's so smart.
But now
That's so smart.
it provides you with citations. And that's
Hmm.
why I don't know how teachers are going to do it now. Like, how do you know that kid wrote that paper
Well,
when
that was starting
artificial
when
intelligence
I
can give you
left.
five? Yeah,
Yeah, there was a program, and I mean, this started really right before I left teaching, because you could see that coming.
yeah.
How there was one young man that I swear today I did not pick it up until later, that this was such a well researched and well articulated thesis. And I told him, I said, "Oh my God, your writing is fantastic. Let's sit down. Where did you learn all these things?" And he never got back to me because I really think he didn't write it. But what I was going to say was that, yeah, I felt so stupid. Anyway, not the first time. Um, right before I retired, there was a program where you could type in 5 words from a kid's paper that were supposedly his words. It was not a quote of any kind that she inserted in the paper. If you typed in 5 words, it would look for where those 5 words occurred somewhere else. And you could sometimes find the actual paper that the student had copied from some writing, what do you say, paid source that you could pay for a
Right,
paper.
right.
And I forget. I forget what that was called, but I'm sure there are others that have surfaced since then where you can, where you can. Now, what we used to do was we had the kids create note cards, actual note. We sat with them in the library, we watched them pull the
Right.
books from the shelves. We
Right.
watched them collect 100 note cards, and looked over the note cards, and then were able to tell that they used their actual research, the notes that they had taken on those cards, in the full sentence outline and in the final paper back in the day. I don't know what they do today. I don't think they even offer that class anymore at the high school. I think they tried to put more research, shorter, more research papers in all the subject areas and not just English. So things have changed tremendously. And it's funny talking about change in education. And I don't want to go into this too much, but I had a podcast for the Be Inspired podcast. I had a conversation last week with one of my buddies from when I was teaching, Bill Cherkasky, who's the telecommunications instructor.
Right.
And he, what he shared was, and I don't want to get him in trouble, but, what he shared was they're taking all the fun out of school. They don't want the kids to be there a full day. A lot of the seniors, I guess, are there for half a day, and then they can go to internships, or they can go to, part-time jobs, or they can go home. But, they're taking away, and what it's doing is demolishing the elective program in the
Right.
schools. And so, kids don't stay around for their electives in art or music or telecommunications or anything like that. And,
Right.
he just allowed me to understand, which, I had kind of heard, that it's just not quite as much fun as it used to be. And the freedoms are certainly, you know, certainly curtailed. Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah.
Now, another, if we want to go on, or you can chop this off whenever you want to. But another thing I found interesting in the papers over the past week since I've last talked to you were the things that people are searching for, are Googling for, the top searches for the year. Would you like to know what those are? Of course you would.
Yeah, because
Um,
I kind of have a bit of a theory with that
oh, good. Let's
regarding
do that first.
some of the things that I've seen coming out on social media.
Okay.
Um, New Year's Day, New Year's night, or New Year's Eve and New
Right.
Year's Day, the uber conservatives just came out in force
Hmm.
against Joe Biden. And that's what, when I texted you before and saying about how, the major hypocrisy that the GOP people, the GOPers,
Mm-hmm.
are exuberating or showing right now. They're getting on Bill Clinton shit about
I
being a
saw
coded
that.
name in the flight logs for
For
Jeffrey Epstein,
Yep, I saw
and
that
and
over 50
Donald Trump
times.
wasn't, and Donald Trump wasn't,
Mhm.
and this one guy is just like, he's a former cop, which is disappointing, but he's just so big on, I'm a proud conservative because that's the right thing to do, and liberals are hippies and that shit.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he said about Joe Biden having showered with his daughter, and um, Bill Clinton being a pedophile, and they should all be punished and all be convicted. And I showed him a picture, or I sent him a picture of Donald Trump laying down with Ivanka in the back of a limo. And I said,
Whoa.
finally, you and I agree on something. Yeah, that didn't get
Wow.
responded to.
No, I'm sure. Video YouTube piece somehow on Facebook this morning showed Donald grabbing his daughter's ass.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
that was
I got
kind of,
that one too. It's he's they're standing like a, almost like a red carpet or something, and he's got his hand around her, like,
yep,
not like it's his daughter, but
yep,
like how he said, like he wants to date his daughter.
yep, 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 yep,
And
yep,
what
yep.
dad says that?
I know. I know. That's
And that makes you
really,
want to vote for the guy?
uh, there's no,
But you're pissed at Bill Clinton for using a cigar on an intern.
mhm. Yep. Anyway, lots of lots of stuff. Did you want to continue with more hypocrisy with the GOP? Were
Well,
there
I
other
mean, that was
examples
kinda
you
that was
wanted
kinda
to?
the gist of it.
Okay.
The other thing they tried to do was get on Joe Biden for his, mental capacity, and the this guy that did is he's a talk show guy like, you and me, podcaster or whatever, and he's doing this on New Year's Eve, talking about something that Joe Biden said to, I think it was Ryan Seacrest on New Year's Eve about Italian restaurants or some shit. And, it was another mentally deranged moment in Joe Biden. And I'm like, okay, so here's a guy who's constantly flapping his yap about being for family values.
Hmm.
And he's picking on a guy who's sitting there with his wife,
Hmm.
something Donald Trump is not doing.
Hmm.
And dude, it's New Year's Eve. It's something you're not doing either. Where's your wife and kids while you're watching the liberal New Year's Eve show?
Hmm.
And you're not watching the country show with them on Nashville Network or whatever it was
CNN.
that my neighbors made me watch.
That must have been tough.
Ugh. And it was actually enjoyable
Oh,
because all they did was sit there and bitch about
oh
how pop
no.
country music has gone. Why isn't Hank Williams on the show this year? Because Hank Williams is dead? Maybe. And I know he meant
Well,
Hank
I
Williams Jr., but I wasn't gonna.
I watched a little bit of New Year's specials, not much. But Paul Anka tried to do John Lennon's Imagine. And I can't imagine that a skit about that won't appear sometime on Saturday Night Live because it was awful, at least from my opinion. At least from my opinion.
Yeah,
I love that song. That's a great song. But
yeah.
that 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 one was tough. Now, what I did on New Year's Eve, I watched for the second time Oppenheimer
Oh yeah.
in order to try to get all the characters straight. So, yeah, that was my New Year's Eve, and finally at 11:30, it was over. My watching of it, and I could tune in a little bit to the New Year's Eve specials. But for me, they're hard to watch. I'm just
My
saying.
kid brother Randy is in bed by like 9:30, and it's just another Saturday night for him or
Yeah,
whatever day of the
yeah.
week.
Well, I had a tiny bottle of champagne that I was going to enjoy on New Year's Eve, and Paul was asleep, and so I kept it for yesterday instead. It was kind of sad, but I did watch the ball drop. So anyway, there was that.
I always
But
got sad on New Year's Eve. But like, we'll never have, in this case, 2023 ever again.
really,
Yeah,
oh,
like
my puppy's here. Hi, baby. Ginger came. Hello, honey. So my dog came. She's here for
nice.
a visit. Yeah, she'll be here for a little while. I'll be down later. Okay. Yes, I will be down later to fix your breakfast. Okay. You go lie down now. Okay. She'll be back, or I'll be back with her. I guess you'll have to cut that part out.
No, it's okay.
Anyway, okay, you were saying that not
So
being able
yeah,
to see 2023 ever again makes you sad.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm way over it now, but I just felt like I remembered the like the animated cartoons, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Yes.
and all those that came about for like Christmas. And then there was
Hmm.
another one with like Father Time
Oh, okay.
and something about the New Year's baby
Okay.
and how each year was represented in the life of a person, that they're a baby in January and they're an old person
Yeah.
in December.
Yeah.
And just, okay, so that person's going to die.
Yeah.
That's what you want to show 8-year-old kids?
Yeah. Well, that probably hit you about the age of 4 because that's when kids really became aware of dying. So I have
Yeah,
noticed that over the years.
yeah,
Anyway, so there's that. But yeah, so there. So the top searches
yeah.
for 2023 from what I read were the Israeli Hamas war is right up there. And second
And
to
that only
that,
really had 2 months. That only really had 2 or 3 months to do it.
right. And it just grabbed everybody for the entire year.
Yeah,
Then the football guy, the football safety, Harden, I can't remember what his name was. He had cardiac arrest on the field. That got top searches, I guess. And he
Oh,
has now
oh,
recovered.
from the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills.
I don't know what team. I'm not good at that. But
I think
he
that sounds
ended up
familiar.
getting hit, I guess, in the chest and ended up
Yeah,
with cardiac arrest on the field. That was a top Google search. Um, there, a guy named Jeremy Renner, an
yeah,
actor,
yeah.
snowplow accident.
He was
And
run over
tell
by a
me,
snowplow. Yeah,
what was he doing to get run over by a snowplow? Was
I
he in the
don't
middle of a
know.
highway?
It might have been something like when after the plow comes through, but there's still a cover of snow on it, and they might have been like sledding or pulling a sled or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that
Um,
one I missed that one.
yeah, but
And
I
then of
remember that
course,
he was crushed.
what died?
No, no, no. He's actually recovering, but
Okay.
I doubt that this is your genre. But he played. I think his character is Hawkeye. He's one of the
Yeah. Okay.
superheroes in the Marvel comic universe.
Okay. No, that's not
Yeah,
my gig. Yeah. 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 Anyway, so although in football, I watch Kansas City Chiefs because I
yeah,
like Mahomes, and I like Andy Reid, and I like Andy Reid just as an aside because I know he's been as a dad, he's been through hell,
really,
and yeah, Andy Reid had two sons. I think one has passed. Drug issues, both of them. And I think at least one of them, as I recall, went to prison. But I just, I just felt for the man, you know,
yeah,
parent to parent. So, and yet he kept coaching. And I admire people who are tough or who are resilient or who are phoenix like or I
right,
mean yeah. So I don't know what kind of father he was, and I don't know if that, I haven't read anything, and I refuse to do that kind of, to blame him for that as a dad, because, with addiction, you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, you can't control it. I mean,
right,
it's just one of those chemical things and becomes self-medicating to other issues relative to depression or mental health and so forth. Anyway, so I only watch the Eagles because my husband watches the Eagles rigorously. I kind of pay attention to that, but I always watch Kansas City. So
but that's where he
just
used to be.
FYI, just
He
FYI.
he was with the Eagles some years
Oh
ago.
yes, oh
Yeah,
yes, oh yes. That's where I heard of it. That's
yeah,
where I read all the
okay,
articles about him and his family when he was a coach of the Eagles, and then moved to Kansas City. Anyway, some more Google searches, Google searches, those guys. And then Matthew Perry, and that's real recent. Tina Turner's death, the
yeah,
movie Barbie, the movie Oppenheimer, and then one called uh, Jawan, which I guess is about Japan and Taiwan. TV shows Wednesday, Ginny and Georgia, and The Last of Us. Now, I assume they're not talking about the program that was This Is Us,
No,
but The Last of Us, and I haven't heard of any of those programs. That goes
I've
to
heard of
show
the
you I know
last
nothing.
one,
You
but
do
I
Last
don't
of Us?
remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I don't remember, what the premise was.
yeah. In music, Idol, songs called Idol, and Try That in a Small Town, Trace Akins.
Oh, I did an episode on that one too. That how
I was
racist
oh
Jason Aldean is.
I wish I had heard that episode. The
Oh, it's
word
still
of
there.
the year, the word of the year, and of course I'm interested in that. The word of the year is Riz, Rizz, and it's the trending slang word, and it comes from charisma. So if you've got the
Okay,
Riz, you've got the
like
Riz.
vibes.
Right. That's the old one. This
Yeah.
year it's the Riz. Okay. And then, of course, you and I have discovered the word. What? How do we pronounce it now? Char,
Oh,
char, charcuterie.
yeah.
Charcuterie. Yeah, yeah. And
That's
I was
actually a
aware of
top
that. I
search.
mean, no, I just
Oh, oh,
inserted that as our
oh.
top search. And I always liked crudité, but I was not at all familiar with charcuterie. Okay. So, which is, I guess, a plate full of meats and maybe cheeses
Yeah,
too.
and that's
On Wiki,
exactly what was on the shelves when I took that
there
picture at
you
the
go.
grocery
Yeah,
store.
that
Yeah.
was great. And then in Wikipedia, the top search is for the chat GPT.
Yeah.
Okay. And the top, since 2004, top searches since 2004, 10 years, what, 20 years.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, Beyonce, and Cristiano Ronaldo, who is an athlete of some
Yeah,
kind,
he's a
and
soccer player.
not be my gig. I don't know what he plays. Soccer, huh?
Yeah, he's a soccer
Anyway,
player.
I found that article really kind of interesting to see what people are looking up.
And this is my point exactly. This is my point exactly.
What is your point?
Not one topic from politics,
Mhm. There you go.
but what is everybody talking about?
And what is on TV constantly. Now, what does that say to
No,
you? What conclusions do you draw from that?
the
People don't give a
obvious is
shit.
that they're not doing their homework.
Mm. And obvious, like we talked about early in our conversation today, was that it takes a two by four to get people to pay attention
Yeah.
to what's going on, right?
Yeah. And sometimes hitting them in both heads,
Hmm. Hmm.
at least the men.
So I think another topic that maybe, I mean, is resolutions. I mean, we talked last week about
Yeah.
resolutions we might be interested in making. But what I found interesting this week were some tips about how to keep them. All right.
I saw that somewhere too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it's in all the bits, a syndicated column from, that appears
Yeah.
in all the papers. But I have a list if you'd like to know what the list to, and you might have some commentary about this. Now, how do you make sure to keep your resolutions? Do you have any
Well,
tips
I
for us?
I think that I do. I had that's actually one of the quotes from my file of screensaver photos and famous quotes and
Yes,
such.
yes.
But
Hmm.
at 59 minutes, I think we should save that for the next episode.
That sounds good. Okay. I'm Jane Stahl,
And I'm Yergz.
and this is
Both sides now.